Let me know when you're ready, Bob. Go. All right, tonight we're going to talk about hidden emotions and emotional healing. Because emotional healing involves becoming aware of these emotions that we have and releasing the energy and moving on with life. It's not about a disconnect. It's not about burying those emotions, but freeing yourself from those bonds. How many times have you gotten in a fight with your husband or wife and you started dredging up stuff from 1978? And another thing, what about when you in 1980 and you're like, wow, where's that coming from? Because you never mentioned it back in 1980, and for the past 31 years you've been holding on to it. And I think it's good just to say, you know, I'm a little curious about something. Let's chat about it right now and let's deal with it instead of holding on to it and then exploding with the anger like before. Holding on to this baggage can lead to addictions, health issues, weight problems, depression, and unhealthy relationship patterns. I think that you often see people who date people and you think, what are they dating them for? Because it's not a good relationship. Because sometimes people think that's what they deserve. They think that they deserve to have someone be negative towards them or whatever. And it's not. It's not what you deserve. They talk here in this article, and this was done at the aurasexpert.com, the hidden emotions. And it talks about disconnecting from emotional truth can disconnect you from your internal compass. You know, like St. Paul says, we need to have healthy relationships with people that are good for us. When we come here to pray it off, we're in relationships with people who believe the same things we do about God, about health. We need to form relationships with that and get rid of the old fears, old anger, old sadness. Not taking responsibility for healing our own baggage, we demand our relationships become therapy to heal our past. How many times have you heard someone say, you know, about their relationship, you know, well, I need them to make me feel better, or I need this guy to treat me like a queen or me like a princess. Isn't a relationship supposed to be a give and take, a loving kindness thing? If you are in a relationship so the other person can define who you are as a person, it means that you're not dealing with your own compass of who you are as a person. One of the greatest gifts we can give our relationships is to face and heal our own emotions. Also, one of the most powerful gifts we can give ourselves is to find the courage to feel and heal. If you're still dealing with childhood trauma, if you're still dealing with things that happened to you of a negative nature and you're still eating over them or having it define who you are, you really need to either have therapy or self-talk yourself. And I'm going to be going into some ways that we can heal ourselves. But I got to tell you something. When I heard that Steve Jobs died, I felt, you know, sadness. I felt like, you know, what a creative genius and how much he gave the world. And I also thought about how he was a billionaire. And with all his money, I mean, he was able to last a heck of a lot longer than a lot of people in his situation. But ultimately, you know, he left at 56 years old. And when I got up this morning and got ready for work, I had the gift of life. I'm not a billionaire, I'm not famous, but I have something that he no longer has, the opportunity to live my life. And it really got me through today thinking, you know, Steve Jobs would love this opportunity to get up and go forward. So we really need to think about that. When we think about our problems or our issues, we're still kicking. We still have our gift of life, and that is a beautiful thing. So let's look at the article by Dr. Marty Baker about emotional baggage. And I love this article. I want you to go home and read it, everybody, because he brings up God and how God can help us with this emotional baggage. Because we're dealing with the negative voices, the negative attitudes, and the negative actions. And he talks about how when he was a kid, they used to say, sticks and stones can break your bones, but names will never hurt me. Well, they do. They do hurt you. I think I spent the majority of my life trying to prove I wasn't a McCauley retard. I spent the majority of my life saying, wait a minute, I'm not stupid. I'm going to be like, get top of my high school class. I'm going to get the highest on my SATs. I'm not a retard, because they called us that over and over again. And I'm still dealing with that baggage at 57 years old. I want to deal with it and say, you know what I am, and I don't need to prove anything to anyone. God loves me just the way I am. There's that retard word. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to let it go. I got called Ellen Bellin the watermelon. You know what? I'm not skinny, but I'm not Bellin the watermelon anymore. I'm not McCauley Mountain anymore. They used to call me Ski Slope. And I'm telling you, you think of a name, I got called it, and you know what it made me do? Be more outgoing, more funny, because I had to redefine who I was as a person. I'm going to take McCauley Mountain, I'm going to take Ellen Bellin the watermelon, I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to let it go. I don't have to prove who I am anymore. I can be who I want to be, just at peace with myself. These negative voices, you don't fit in, you don't belong, you have to be funny, you have to be nice, you've got to always say yes, because what if people don't like me because I say no? I'm going to have to bake those cookies, I'm going to have to be ahead of that committee, I'm going to have to do this because they might not like me. This is where you say, you know what, I would love to do that, but right now I can't, thank you anyway. Because when you're overstressed, when you're overcommitted, you eat. You eat pizza, you eat chips, because you don't have the time to take care of yourself. We have to deal with the things that have happened in our life and let it go. Because you squish it down. You say, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. And you know, when I go to this job every day, there's been a lot of negative thoughts in my head where I'm thinking, what am I doing? What am I doing this job for? You know, I'm more qualified than this. I have a better resume than this. And I was thinking, maybe this is what I deserve. Maybe this is where the mistakes I made in my life have gotten me to this point. All that negative energy, it's useless. Instead, I should say, you know what? I'm fortunate to be able to have a paycheck, no collection agencies. I'm healthy. I love Pray It Off. I am good enough. I'm at one point in my life right now, but it doesn't mean I'm not good enough. Let that feeling go. And you might say, well, you know what, Ellen, you got a nice husband, you got kids, but I didn't have that. I didn't get that relationship I wanted. I didn't get the man or woman of my dreams. Does that mean you're not valuable, that you're not beautiful, that God doesn't love you, that there's a plan for you in heaven that you don't even know what it is? You gotta let go that you're not good enough. You are good enough. You're exactly the way God made you to be. And that's what we need to let go. Or maybe it was sports. Maybe you're a tall person or a husky person, and people said, well, why didn't you play volleyball, or why didn't you do this? And maybe you just didn't want to. Our own son, you know, he was, you know, captain of the 8th grade football team, got pushed up to JV. He didn't want to play football. He wanted to be in the marching band. You don't think he's heard stuff about that? You don't think the football team walks by him in his band uniform and calls him every name in the book? And you know, I had to write a little blurb in the Tournament of Bands program, and I wrote this. A lot of people wrote, oh, I'm proud of my kid, I love you. And I wrote, you said you wanted to be with your friends who love music just like you do. And then I quoted Thoreau, you know, where I said, you march to the beat of your own drummer, and you listen to the music in your heart. And I said, Thoreau, and we are proud of you. I am so proud of him, because that's what he wanted to do. How many times have we not done what we wanted to do because we were afraid somebody else might say something about it? You know, I even said to Bob, there might come a day where I'm just going to walk up to my manager and say, you know, today's my last day. I said, what would you do if I came home and said that? He'd go, I'd be fine with it. Whatever you want to do, Ellen. And I'm not going to do that. But just knowing that he'd be fine with it, that gives me the freedom. That makes me say, well, you know what, he'd be fine with it. I'm going to hang in there a little bit more. When you think you're not worthy, When you think you deserve this, how many times have you said, you know, I didn't win, but I never win. I'm a loser. Uh-oh, I've said that quite a few times, didn't I? But we will win ultimately when we have, the end is when we have our reward, and we have to think about that. Also, they talk in here about the negative attitudes. We believe sometimes that our past mistakes are bigger than God. We think sometimes, and there's a movie, I think it's The Robe, one of my favorite movies, where someone's introducing Peter, and they're saying, oh, Peter's the greatest, and Peter was Jesus' best friend, and Peter's perfect, and Peter's this, and Peter was standing over there very uncomfortable, and he goes, excuse me, my friend, let me interrupt you. I denied Jesus 3 times. I didn't have the guts to stand up for my beliefs and my friendship. I denied him. And the crowd's like, what? Paul, St. Paul persecuted Christians. He murdered Christians. I don't think any of us, don't tell me if you have murdered any Christians lately. We have not done that. But the thing is, nothing that we've done is bigger than God. Nothing that we've done is unforgivable. There's 2 kinds of people, those who clam up and those who blow up. I'm married to a clam up, and he's married to a blow up. Yeah, now, one of the things, you know, I seem like the kind of person that what you see is what you get, so I have this like deep layer where I bury a lot of stuff, and no one ever suspects. Because they think, oh, Ellen's an open book. If she's got something on her mind, she'll tell you. And those kinds of people bury the best, because no one thinks there's these layers in there. So what I've had to do is say, all that stuff that you've been burying, Ellen, all those things, and 3.5 years of praying it off have helped me more than I can ever say. Because when I started out in my 300s, I wasn't 300 and some odd pounds because I loved the taste of filet mignon. I wasn't having, you know, au jus sauce and special gourmet recipes. I weighed over 300 pounds because I couldn't deal with the pressures of life, and I wanted to eat to medicate myself, to say, I can't handle this, give me some food, give me something to eat, give me something to do so I don't have to think about it. When you constantly are numbing yourself with food, with alcohol, with drugs, you don't have your compass. You don't know where you are in this life because and then when that medication wears off, you have to deal with it anyway. So, I'm not saying you should clam up. I'm not saying you should blow up. There's nothing wrong with calmly discussing something. Calmly. It can be done. Okay, I'm going to stop right there because my husband's giving me the high sign.